Hey, what's going on guys, this is AndrewChicken and welcome back to another video. Supports are arguably the most important class in Paladins, and the backbone of any good team. They're responsible for healing allies and helping them get kills, either by buffing their allies up, debuffing and crowd controlling enemies, or otherwise supplementing their team's damage. Having a good support on your team can mean the difference between rolling an enemy team and getting rolled yourself. That's why in this video, I'll be going over my picks for the top 5 strongest support champions in Paladins. Now before we get started, I want to mention that this video was influenced by you, the members of this wonderful community. I made a poll asking which support champions you guys think are the strongest, and this poll helped me decide which champions to put on this list. Surprisingly, this time around it's actually extremely clear who the community thinks are the 3 best champions in the support class, with 3 different champions taking up about a third of the number 1 spot each. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get straight into the video. Number 5. Grok. I am so thrilled to finally be able to put everyone's favorite blue orc in a top 5 list. Grok is a champion who's been at the bottom of everyone's healer tier list for years, but he's finally earned his place at the top with the buffs he got in Season 4. Grok is a champion who specializes in healing tanks, and he is quite possibly the best champion in the game to do so. With the talent Totemic Ward, he can place down 3 totems on top of each other, which heal everyone in their radius for a total of 990 healing per second. So, if Grok, Yaggoroth, and Barrack are all sitting inside his totems for example, Grok is putting out nearly 3,000 healing per second across 3 different people. While other champions can put out around 1,000 healing per second on a single target too, like Ceres and Io, none can do it to the entire team at once, like Grok can. And of course, no support can heal themselves for 990 healing per second like Grok can, which allows Grok to win duels against most champions until Cauterize 3 comes around. And the other great thing about Grok is that he doesn't have a channeled heal. There are a few supports in Paladins that have a channeled heal, or otherwise a long healing animation that interrupts their ability to do damage, like Corvus, Furia, Ceres, and Io. With Grok, all he has to do is press a button, a totem is quickly placed down, and he can go back to shooting with minimal interruption. And this couples nicely with his high damage output Lightning Staff, which can ramp up to 975 damage per second when it's locked onto a target. This can put serious pressure on tanks and let Grok duel squishy champions when combined with the self-sustain from his totems. He can also use his Ghost Walk to avoid damage entirely when in a sketchy situation, and heal up from his totems while remaining completely unaffected by Cauterize. Also, Grok's ultimate is one of the best ultimates in the support class. It does a little bit of everything. It heals for 700 healing per second, it damages for 400 damage per second, it speeds up teammates, slows down enemies, and grants Grok crowd control immunity and flight. It's arguably the best ultimate for rushing your entire team into the enemy team and overwhelming them, apart from maybe Furia's ultimate, and it can also help Grok get out of sticky situations, recover from being thrown off the map, and kill an invisible champion without buying Illuminate. It's one of my favorite ultimates in the game. We also can't talk about Grok without addressing his powerful damage build. With the right build, Grok can heal himself for ludicrous amounts of healing while softening up multiple enemies with his maelstrom of area damage. Against a grouped up team or a team with deployables, Grok is a force to be reckoned with, and he can easily earn top damage in the lobby under the right circumstances. Of course, the drawback with Grok is that if a teammate wants healing, they're restricted to the area of the totems. However, each of his totems have a radius that's roughly the size of the objective, so this is usually not much of a problem for tanks. For squishy champions, however, this can be restrictive, and for flying champions like Drogoz, Maeve, and Eevee, well, they might as well not be playing with a healer at all. Grok does have an answer to that with Spirit's Domain, which lets him use his Lightning Staff to heal his teammates for 700 healing per second. When combined with a totem, he can still heal a tank very easily for 1000 healing per second, and he can also heal those flying champions like Drogoz with some good aim. However, the range on his staff is shorter than the healing range of other champions, and it's also more unreliable than an auto-aim healing ability like a Genos Mark. And the most glaring issue with Spirit's Domain is that by shooting your teammates to heal them, you're losing out on most of Grok's damage output. One of the best reasons to pick Grok is because of his ability to be a hybrid support, who can heal and dish out damage at the same time, and Spirit's Domain cripples his ability to do that. While it does give him more reliable healing on squishy champions and flanks, at that point, you're probably just better off picking another healer. However, if you have a point-heavy team comp, Grok is the best support for the job. His ultimate is phenomenal, and his damage build is among the best. If you want to learn how to play this fantastic support, I have a guide linked in the cards and description which will help you master this amazing champion. But anyways, let's move on to the number 4 spot. Number 4. Furia. In the number 4 spot we have Furia, a top tier support with one of the most powerful talents in the game. Furia has a powerful burst heal that can restore 1400 health over its duration every 3 seconds. While it isn't extraordinary sustained healing, the burst that it has allows Furia to save her teammates from the brink of death. This can be buffed up by Cherish, which gives it even more range and healing. However, Furia doesn't just bring healing to the table, she brings a boatload of damage too. As Furia heals her teammates, she increases her Wrath meter, which causes her to attack faster. With the full amount of Wrath, she deals nearly 1000 damage per second and can hit headshots to boost her damage even further. On top of that, she has her Pyre Strike, which is a massive beam that travels forward, stunning anyone it hits and dealing some solid damage too. And of course, her beam can be turned into a miniature nuke with the talent Exterminate, which causes the beam to deal 75% more damage and freeze in place once it hits an enemy. It can stun for 1.75 seconds with this card here, and during that time the beam alone will have done 1625 damage, 400 damage from the initial strike, and then 700 damage per second for as long as the target stays under the beam. And of course, Furia can shoot the target she just struck with her beam as well, and so can her team. Getting hit by Exterminate is a death sentence for any squishy champion in the game, and tanks don't bode well either when struck by the Pyre. Exterminate alone is enough to secure Furia a place on this list, because it secures her team free kills and lets her defend herself from flanks and damage champions while adequately healing her team. And because apparently Furia doesn't do enough damage already, she can buff up the damage of herself and her entire team by 30% with her ultimate, and make everyone move faster. This is another fantastic ultimate for allowing Furia's entire team to push up and overwhelm the enemies, since high damage output champions like Leon will be nigh unstoppable, and any mirror matchups will suddenly be made unfair by her damage buff. Her ultimate also makes her damage and crowd control immune while casting it, which makes it good for dodging lethal crowd control effects or bursts of damage. If Furia wants to be a powerful heal bot, however, she can do that too through the power of Solar Blessing. This talent lets her stop her beam wherever she wants, and it causes it to heal anyone who steps inside of it for 2000 healing per second. This talent is ideal for tanks, because Furia can just send a beam towards the point, stop it right in the center, and allow her tanks to soak up all that lovely healing. Of course, it does have a very tiny radius, so anyone who wants to be healed by it needs to be nearly stationary. As you can imagine, Yaggoroth players are the biggest fan of this talent. All around, Furia is a fantastic asset to any team. Exterminate can force any champion in the game to fall to their knees, and her healing can save teammates from the brink of death. However, without Solar Blessing, she lacks the raw healing output that other supports have, and without Cherish, she lacks the range and reliability that other supports have with their healing. She also doesn't have any good self-healing options, besides a few cards which don't give nearly the same amount of sustain as other supports have. Despite these setbacks, Furia is still a phenomenal support, and earns the number 4 spot on this list. Number 3. Grover. In the number 3 spot we have a phenomenal hybrid support and group healer, Grover. Grover is the only healer in the game who can heal his teammates just by existing, since he has a passive healing aura constantly surrounding him which heals for 80 healing per second. While it isn't a lot of healing, it does add up, and it's the single most consistent heal in the game. If you want healing, just stand near Grover and he's got you covered. However, if this was Grover's only form of healing, he'd be pretty garbage. Luckily, he has his Blossom, which lets him heal everyone in his radius, including himself, for a burst of 800 healing, and an additional 300 with a Taunt Rampant Blooming. While it isn't phenomenal single target healing, Grover can potentially heal everyone on his team at once with his burst, which is what makes him so powerful. And with these two cards here, Grover can spam out his healing quite frequently. Grover's Blossom also heals through walls, which is a unique ability that not every healer has. Grover can also throw an axe every second for the entire match, which does more damage to targets that are far away. While it doesn't do much damage at close range, at medium to long range, it's still good consistent pressure on whichever enemy Grover is fighting. And with Ferocity, Grover can deal scary amounts of damage, while still maintaining his powerful group healing. Grover also has his Crippling Throw, which is an easy to hit crippling axe which deals 400 damage. Combined with a regular shot at medium to long range, it gives Grover some nice burst, and it also stops champions like Maeve and Eevee from using their vital movement abilities, which makes Grover an excellent counter to highly mobile flanks. Another powerful capability for a support to have is the ability to travel across the map with just one ability, and that's exactly what Grover has. By utilizing Vine Tech, whereby you hold Vine, look at a surface, release Vine, and then quickly flick to a faraway surface, he can travel across the map in no time. Apart from Ying using Dimensional Link with her ultimate active, no other support has the ability to travel such a long distance so quickly. And if Grover's Blossoms and passive healing isn't enough to keep a target alive, that's no problem that Grover's ult can't handle. Whirlwind is a powerful ultimate that heals allies who are close to Grover for 2,500 healing per second, which is more than a Solar Blessing beam with a bigger radius. It's the single most powerful concentrated healing ability in the game, so if Grover's Whirlwind can't save you, then nothing can. Whirlwind also makes Grover crowd control immune, so with some quick reactions, he can use it to dodge powerful stuns and crowd control effects like Ceres' Convergence, and then use his powerful healing output to save the teammates which are in danger. Grover can also cancel his ultimate early if he no longer needs the healing, allowing him to save some of that precious ultimate charge and have another ultimate sooner. Grover's only downsides are that he has among the worst close-range damage in the game, and that his solo target healing is a bit lackluster when compared to other champions who specialize in solo target healing. However, he's easily one of the best group healers in the game, and a fantastic hybrid with great survivability and utility who earns the number 3 spot on this list. Number 2. Ceres. In the number 2 spot we have the easiest healer in the game, Ceres. Ceres is extremely reliable and easy for anybody to get into, and she has some great healing output that excels at keeping just about anyone alive. Her Restore Soul ability is a super easy channeled heal that heals a target for 1000 healing per second, and lasts for 1.5 seconds. With Mortal Reach, this healing is delivered faster, and also has nearly infinite range. And what's nice about Restore Soul is that Ceres only needs to have line of sight with the target to initially cast the ability, and then she can dart back behind cover while still healing her target. Restore Soul also heals allies near the initial target for 600 healing per second, which gives Ceres some good area healing and also lets her indirectly heal an ally without having line of sight, by casting Restore Soul on a visible ally that's near to who she actually wants to heal. Ceres is one of the most robust healers in the game, but she also has phenomenal tools for survivability that make her hard to flank. Because of the nature of her heal requiring minimal line of sight, she's one of the best supports for playing around cover. But if she gets caught in a bad spot, she can simply use her shadow travel to reposition under the safety of a higher plane of existence. For the next 4 seconds, she's invisible and completely immune to damage, crowd control, status effects, and all other nasty things. And with the card Veil at level 5, entering shadow travel takes almost no time at all. At that point, it's basically just a better version of Grok's Ghost Walk. Ceres also has phenomenal self-healing. With this card, she can heal herself for a portion of what she gives to allies, but she can also heal herself for a much bigger burst by hitting enemies with her primary fire and then activating Rend's Soul. Rend's Soul will heal back 8% of her health for each Soul Orb stack, and with her piercing projectiles, getting a high amount of stacks is often trivial. And of course, we can't forget about Ceres' ultimate, which is a phenomenal crowd control ability that groups up all nearby enemies, ready to be blasted by her primary fire and any other nasty explosions that your team has planned for them. A well-placed Ceres ult can put several enemies in harm's way, to be blown to smithereens by King Bomb, Victor's Barrage, Ruckus's Big Guns, and so many other powerful ultimates. It's the ultimate combo ultimate, but it can also be used in a 1v1 to neutralize a flanker who tries coming after Ceres. The two things Ceres lacks in a Mortal Reach build are damage and crowd control, because apart from using her ultimate, she has no crowd control, and she's not going to be doing much damage by using her channeled heal every 1.5 seconds. Her other two talents aim to fix this problem. Soul Collector lets her turn detonated soul charges into bonus damage on her primary fire and extra health, and with a maximum health build that uses Veteran 3, she can reach nearly 3,500 HP, which is nuts. Agony also allows her to stun enemies who are afflicted by 4 soul charges when she uses Rend's Soul, which can give her some useful crowd control that can help her and her teammates score kills. Ceres is a fantastic and easy support to play, and she brings some great value to just about any team. She's good at healing tanks and flanks alike, and she has one of the best combo ultimates in the game. However, in the hands of a skilled support player, there is one more support who brings a bit more utility to the table, and who had more people vote for him as the number 1 spot on my poll. Because of all this, she earns the number 2 spot on this list. Now, before we get into the number 1 spot, I want to talk briefly about the best support in the game for pocketing any champion. Corvus. Corvus is a support in the truest sense of the word. He gives an absurd amount of buffs to the lucky recipient of his mark with Dark Gifts. With the right build, he can give a teammate healing from anywhere on the map, crowd control reduction, cooldown reduction, increased reload speed, damage reduction, movement speed, and lifesteal. Combine this with a lethal champion that benefits from all these buffs like Buck, and you've got a game-winning combination. Corvus also has a fantastic movement ability. With a bit of practice, his projection is a great way to escape from flankers and reposition to where he needs to go. This is also coupled with one of the best weapons in the damage class, an automatic pistol that deals 1057 damage per second as of the trick shot update, which can also hit headshots. Getting pocketed by Corvus is one of the best feelings in the world as a damage or flank player, but unfortunately, Corvus is lackluster when it comes to healing the rest of his team. While he can heal multiple people, he is not nearly as potent as some of the other champions on this list. He also lacks crowd control, apart from a slow on his dagger and ultimate, and a stun with stunning visage, which I think is one of the most slept on talents in the game, but that's a discussion for another time. Speaking of his ultimate, unless you're casting his ultimate on a tank like Yaggoroth, his ultimate is basically useless apart from the enhanced defenses it gives Corvus while casting it. It makes him crowd control immune, lets him fly, and gives him damage reduction, but the actual entropic breach is lackluster. Corvus also has some of the worst self-sustain in the entire support class. While he can be healed by the lifesteal from his marked teammate, and he can heal from this card here, it's still absolutely abysmal compared to the sustain Grover, Grok, Saris, and so many others have. While he has phenomenal damage and a great movement ability, he can't take too many hits without running and hiding behind cover to heal out of combat. So, in summary, Corvus can power up one of his teammates to insane levels, at the cost of barely healing his other teammates and himself. While he can work well with a second support who can pick up the slack when it comes to healing, he struggles when he's the only support on the team. Because of this, Corvus does not make it onto this list, but deserves an honorable mention nonetheless. Number 1. Maldamba. And in the number 1 spot we have the best support in Paladins as voted by the community, Maldamba. Maldamba is a beautifully designed support with a kit perfectly tailored towards helping his team. Let's start off with his healing output. Maldamba has his healing split across 2 abilities, his Mending Spirits and his Gourd. His Gourd is basically an indestructible thrown Grok totem that provides useful area healing and also a bit of lifesteal with this card here. He can also hit teammates with his Mending Spirits. It provides a small burst heal when using spirits chosen, and it has a residual heal over time for the next 4 seconds. When you combine his Gourd and Mending Spirits on a target with his base kit, it heals them for a total of 665 healing per second. However, with either of his different healing talents, this combo provides significantly more healing. Ripened Gourd causes his Gourd alone to heal for 650 healing per second, or a total of 990 healing per second when combined with Mending Spirits. And like I mentioned earlier, Spirits Chosen gives him a burst of 250 healing on Mending Spirits, which is ideal for champions who don't like to sit in one place. Mending Spirits also has a ridiculously quick cooldown of only 3 seconds, and since the ability lasts for 4 seconds, you can actually stack 2 procs of Mending Spirits on the same target for 1 second, doubling the healing they get for a moment. Gourd also has a pretty short cooldown when you stack this card with Chronos 3, so Damba has 2 low cooldown healing abilities, not just 1. Because of this, Damba can easily keep most of his teammates topped off at any given moment, which is a feat some other healers struggle to pull off. On top of this, Maldamba's cards can help keep him alive when he uses Mending Spirits, and give his teammates a bit of a speed buff too. Damba's movement ability is also fantastic for survivability. His Slither is a quick dash forward, and he's ethereal for the duration of the dash, meaning he can't be affected by damage, crowd control, or status effects. He can use this ability to quickly dodge lethal damage, or reposition to a safer place with ease. And as far as crowd control and damage are concerned, Damba's got that covered too. His Snake is an effective close quarters weapon that boasts just shy of 800 damage per second, and his Gourd also deals damage when you're not using Ripened Gourd. In a close quarters fight with a flank, Damba can easily hit his shots while dealing damage to the enemy and healing himself with the same Gourd. Damba also throws out a stunning projectile every time he reloads, and if he buys Deft Hands, he can spam these stunning projectiles like crazy. And with the talent Wakono's Wrath, this projectile also does some wicked damage, and can be combined with a normal shot for a burst of 1100 damage. Damba's ultimate is also really helpful for saving teammates and putting the enemies in a vulnerable position. His Dread Serpent fires a projectile that, when it hits terrain or is recast, will summon a massive AoE zone where anyone who walks inside of it will be feared, which is basically a fancy stun that forces the enemies to run away for 2 seconds. With good reaction time, a skilled Damba player can save himself and teammates with his Dread Serpent, and then follow up with a stun on the feared target using his reload. This is some fantastic utility to have, and gives Damba more ways to save his teammates than just simply healing them. And while Resilience does counter both his stun and his ultimate, these abilities will still interrupt whatever the enemy was doing, be it charging up a shoulder bash, entering shadow travel, lining up a sniper shot, or holding a shield. Damba can make the enemies vulnerable, easy targets for his team to finish, and that's a super valuable ability to have. If you want to learn how to play with Damba's variety of healing and damage builds, consider checking out my Season 4 guide for Maldamba. It's your one-stop shop for tips, tricks, and builds for this Serpentine support. As far as good supports go, Damba has it all. He's got great healing output, solid self-healing, good damage in close quarters, phenomenal crowd control, and a useful movement ability. He's a well-designed support through and through, and he deserves the #1 spot on this list. But anyways, that's going to be the end of the video. What do you think of my list? Do you agree with the champions on this list, or do you think someone else deserves to be #1? Let me know in the comment section down below, and also don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more content like this from me. Also make sure to check out my Twitch channel and Discord server linked in the description. I stream regularly on Twitch, and I also have a fantastic and active community on Discord, so if you're looking for players to party up, you know where to go. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.